I'm gonna go ahead and call this evening's Police Advisory Board meeting to order. If we could please have roll call.
Absolutely. Chair Dorsey,
Present.
Vice Chair Amici,
Here.
Diane Foster here, Lawrence O'Keefe,
Here.
Mike Schultz is absent, Mike Smith,
Here.
Amanda Van Arken here, Chris West,
Here.
and Lori Zwingli here. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do we have, did everyone have the opportunity to look over last month's meeting minutes?
Motion to accept as submitted.
Second, motion has been presented and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All same sign. Hearing none, the motion passed. I'll go ahead and get this signed and right back over to you.
Okay.
Do we have any citizen comments this evening?
We do not. No.
So we'll jump right into board member announcements. We'll start with Chris this time.
I have two things to report. One, we're gonna talk about later, but I got to sit behind the chief as he made his presentation to the work session, and I will note for the record that the last time he opened the two files he presented one was 3 hours ago and the other was 4. It wasn't like he'd just been in them 10 minutes before he got in. So he was prepared. He was prepared well before the time he was live. So, and he did great, but we're gonna go over that. Saturday, because of the work I do for Tigert, I got to do a thorough tour of their PD, their department, the buildings. And they have 3/4 of the square feet that we have here in Sherwood. And they have over 100 sworn officers of their PD. And their parking lot where they secure their vehicles, at one end, there isn't even a fence or a gate. They have two old 40, gotta be pushing 40-year-old modular buildings there. One now is an exercise and they have a mat in the middle so that they can do some training, but that's why they need a bond measure to build a new police department, and they're gonna coexist with the public works, and they've bought property on Wall Street, which is off of Hunt Center. But you know, they have the women's locker room is super small. They have 2 open lockers and that, but they're in the process of hiring 3 women. You know, it's pretty amazing. I know the city's had other priorities besides building a new PD, but it's gotten to the point where the roof leaks in several places. They have 1 interrogation room, one that's very small. Anyway, it really opened my eyes at how lucky we are here, and the vision, because this place has to be 20 years old, right?
Yep.
Yeah. The vision to have a place like this that has a room like, they don't have a room like this to meetings. They have a morning briefing room or a shift briefing room that's filled with tables, and that's where they have to do swearing-ins and promotions and everything, and there's not even any place to stand. So anyway, that's all I had.
Kind of boring. The only thing I've got is it was fascinating watching the bridge being put over Highway 99 and it seemed like the traffic flow was as good as could be expected. So kudos for all of that. Great.
Yeah, it went well, considering the just all the moving pieces that were involved. That's really.
It's happening again this weekend.
Yes.
So smaller scale.
Yes.
My turn?
Yes.
So just wanted to refresh everyone's memory that I got to use the internet handoff meeting spot out here. So just wanted to remind everyone that that exists. If you are meeting someone online and them or you aren't comfortable meeting at a strange place or having someone come to your house, there's a parking spot right here in front of the police station, light, I assume camera or something, come there and transact your business and feel safe.
Yeah, my window is right there, so I watch them all the time. Oh, yeah, I just stand up, stare out the window.
There you go.
Does it seem like quite a few people meet there?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, it's surprisingly,
Yeah.
it's used for that and then a lot of, parental exchanges.
Oh, that makes sense. It's a good idea, actually, yeah.
A lot of what exchanges?
Kid parental exchange, mom and has to be exchanges.
That maybe I can trade kids in.
Brothers. This are better behavior.
Well, we'll bounce it over to you. How are you doing out there?
Who, me?
Yes.
I'm doing okay. I've got two things to say. First of all, maybe it's just because I'm coming in by Zoom, but the audio is really warbled. So I'm gonna hope that it comes across a lot better on our YouTube channel. So that's one thing. The second thing is I have something of a public service announcement, and that's just to remind people who might be listening that the time period, the grace period for car registration stickers is long gone. And what brought it to mind was this week I happened to spot a vehicle. I was behind a car, and what brought it to my attention was I was trying to figure out what the license plate meant. It was a specialized license plate, but they were out of date. Their registration tickets were out of date by almost a year. And I thought, we should maybe remind people that that grace period is gone, it's over, and we need to keep them up to date. So that's all I have.
I too attended the bridge moving. It was, my wife and I were talking, and I cannot remember a bigger event in Sherwood happening, other than, our Robin Hood Festival and stuff like that, the cruising. But a public feat this big, I don't know, maybe since Walmart went in. Different scale. But it was very interesting to see the guy moving that bridge, and he's got a corded remote like a game. And of course we have to take pictures of the flagger, because flaggers are good guys. They risk their lives, and I just want to thank personally everybody that was involved with that. It went really smooth. I think they opened up the highway less than 24 hours after it closed. The exchange area, that works really good. When I sell things on Facebook, I say, due to the scams, you will have to show up at designated time at this address, which happens to be the police station. This is rid of a lot of scammers. So there's that. And my last thing is, we supported the police, Sherwood Police Foundation recently. And I would like to continue seeing more people support that. I mean, you guys do just such a great job. That's all I got.
Sounds like Tigard could use a police foundation too.
I talked to the chief about that on Saturday, and they try to recruit, because you need some active local citizens to take it forward, and they tried for almost a year to recruit somebody and they couldn't. There was several things that I shared with him what our foundation had done over the years and what we were doing this year with the plates. And he just, he wishes he had somebody or a group of people in the community that would take that on. So, no.
So is the chief reaching out himself to try to recruit these people?
I don't know, Lori.
Well, because that's how I got involved, was chief reached out to me directly and said, hey, what would you think? And I thought, well, the chief of police is asking me. I think I better be involved in this.
Talk to him, and Ty, you may mention that to him too when you.
Yeah, well, it's a good idea.
All right.
Mine was, I was just gonna say same thing. The bridge thing was apparently cool. My parents also went and watched it. They watched it at the YMCA. Is that where you were? At the YMCA?
Yeah, we're up on the Woodhaven corner there.
Okay, they must have been like indoors in the YMCA and they said that everybody was watching along the window right there. And they were there for 3.5 hours because they didn't want to lose their spot. Because there was so many people there watching at the window and they said it was a perfect view across where they were mounting the bridge.
Yeah, but
So apparently that was very popular.
3.5 hours on that machine.
No, I think they were just. And that was it.
So same thing, popular topic. We walked down to watch it and there was a lot of people down there. I didn't expect so many people. Everything just went so well and faster than I imagined it going. And it didn't seem like traffic was too snarled at all. Like they kept it moving pretty well. So it was fun to watch.
Awesome.
Traffic's a problem when you're late for work in the Saturday morning and you forgot to heed all the people that told you that was gonna be closed. Just saying.
So plan ahead, is what you're saying.
Yeah, when you're 26, sometimes you don't do that.
I saw a couple of posts about it. Why didn't anybody say anything?
Sure they did.
But it seemed like the people who were waiting on 99, like at the part where they shut it down completely for a few minutes. They were taking it pretty well. No one seemed overly angry in their car. Saw some kids climbing up on the back of trucks to watch the whole thing. They weren't moving. They were, just parked, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
They started a whole tailgate.
yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was at the coast with my family, but when I saw it going up and I thought they had already put up the safety fencing that's gonna go along the sides of it. But obviously nobody's up there, but are they gonna have any cameras or anything like that?
You mean permanently on the bridge?
Yeah, on the.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it'll be down low all the way across it. And,
that's that was really all I had. I didn't see or hear about anything happening on St. Patrick's Day downtown. It was very mild. The rain probably put a damper on things.
I mean, it was busy, but it was tame for St. Patty's Day, yeah.
Well, that was
That's
all. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I didn't have anything else to add. So we will keep moving on. Goodness. Let's see here. All right. I'm gonna turn it over to you
Me?
for the business.
Am I doing some business?
Staff report.
Well, that's for.
I don't think we have any of this.
Well,
No business.
no business, okay. Traffic Safety Committee. Updates.
You wanna take a look?
Here it is. We had a few requests. Most of the requests were closed out with no further action needed, right? Other than,
Yeah, I think there's like a couple pending analysis.
there was some talk, and I don't think there's an official traffic request, but if you're turning left on the Sunset from 99 and you have that 100 yards to merge left, I actually took the opportunity to look at some, they're like little round traffic things, and they make small ones, they make bigger ones, and they make really big ones, but the 4 6-inch ones would be great if you increased in size after a certain amount of time. And I was looking on there the other day, and as that dotted line comes, and then you get to the solid line where you're gonna be in a right turn only lane, the problem is there's a bunch of people that, speed up, slow down, jump on their brakes, or move over and drive right through that turn lane. And I was thinking the other day that if you had graduated those little traffic, I think they're not called traffic cones, traffic bumps, for lack of a better term. But you have small ones going where that dotted line is, and then you have the little bit bigger ones going where the solid line is, and it goes right around the corner. That would certainly deter somebody from speeding up and driving right through there. It would rather behavior. Yeah, it would certainly change the behavior. I looked at the cost of them, and they're like $40 a piece, but who knows what the labor is to put that in, and the adhesive, all that other stuff. So thought hasn't been officially brought up yet, but unless there's something I forgot.
One cool thing that we talked about for just a real short time is this new tool that the city is evaluating. It's called Urban SDK. And it's like, when you look at Google Maps and you see the traffic is red or it's yellow and it kind of judges it for you. This grabs all that data from phones, from car GPSs, and this company collects it all and then sells that analytics to cities, so you can kind of plan your transportation and kind of see where trends are. What's the average speed on this road at this time of day, and how did that compare to the same time period last month and the same time period a year ago, and so on. And that way you can kind of look around and find trends and hot spots and determine where do you need more enforcement, where might you want to reduce the speed limit. But it was something that it sounded like they were kind of in a trial phase and just testing it out and kind of figuring out if it would be a useful tool or not. I don't know the cost or anything, but just from the 2-3 minutes spiel about it, it seemed very impressive that we can get that kind of data, because everyone's got a smartphone, everyone's got a car with a GPS for the last 15 years. They've all come standard that way. So this data is being collected by someone, and now they're turning around and finding out a way to make it useful. And it seemed like a really cool tool. So I don't know if that's something the city's seriously considering getting for traffic and planning purposes, but I was impressed by it. I always get excited when I see new tools like that come and be available.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can look at, like, say, a problem area. I'm just going to pick Dewey, not for the sake of ease. You can look at Dewey Road and see how many cars went by there in a certain couple hours, a certain times of the day, top speed of the car, low speed. It was really impressive. I don't doubt it's going to fall into the expensive category.
Yeah.
But
It's not terrible.
yeah, that's good.
I think we're moving forward with it. The benefit to it, not only just all those features, but traditionally we put tubes out and we get a 7-day snapshot of traffic. This is, 24/7, 365 that we're able to just drop down. And let's take Elwood, for example. To your point, there's different colors within the zones of the road to indicate that speed in that section. So it is a really cool tool. The first thing we looked at was Dewey. When we were getting the demo, they're like, hey, give us some streets, Dewey. And I think it shows like 20. But as we've talked in here, cars on both sides and garbage cans, and 20's fast.
Yeah.
it will be, really beneficial for not only just the police department, but the city in general, and obviously the traffic safety committee, because we're gonna get real-time data.
How soon do you see this moving forward? Within a year?
July 1.
Oh, okay, that's quick.
If, I think the idea is to bring it into the next budget. So if all things go as I believe they're gonna go, then yeah, we'll adopt it into the next budget. And the nice thing about it is obviously it's just it's internet based, so we don't have to do anything with it. We just log in and we just have access to it. So yeah, pretty cool. I didn't realize they talked about it at the traffic safety committee, so I guess I can talk about it now.
It was unofficial.
So while we're on that, I just want to plug it, Traffic Safety Committee, Traffic Safety Board. I believe will be official come July 1. So in the next couple months, we're going to be advertising for positions on that. So if you know anybody that has an interest, I believe, and I have to look again, I think we're going to require 2 from here to make the board. I know we've been sending 1, but I think the bylaws were 2. So
was originally.
yeah, and I think we're gonna stick with that. But yeah, if you know of anybody that has an interest, have them keep an eye out for us posting that.
That's all I had on traffic safety. There was some requests, narrow streets, making parking on one side of the street on a couple of streets, and it wasn't feasible at this time. It looked like, according to the police officer, Captain
Dano?
Captain Dan, yes, he thinks, and I think we all agreed that it's like an enforcement issue of just the right place, right time, finding persons. So that's about it.
I have a question. Are all the speed lights working now? We've got all the
They're all up and functioning now.
cameras and. Oh,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Do we add any with the extra?
No, as a matter of fact, and I'll talk about it here in my little update. I know I went flying through that presentation last time. I'll give you kind of the final version, just so you can see what it looked like, and I'll jump into the photo red light so you can see some of those numbers. Yeah, I mean, because there's a dramatic drop in violations, rightfully so, because we took away all the right turn. Because they all have the yields on all of those corners there now, so you'll see some of those numbers, but it's Counselor Young's not here. You want me to just jump right on in?
Right ahead.
Real quick, Jameson and Jessica were hired officially, our 2 reserves here 2 weeks ago. Great.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. Anyways, they're in FTEP right now, so super exciting for them. They'll be down at the academy next month. I think, gosh, I can't remember what I told you. We had our captain's process, which Sergeant Gents and Sergeant Powell will assume the captain roles here within the year. And we're currently just in the beginning stages of the sergeant process. So we'll identify the 2 sergeants that will backfill Nathan and Corey. And hopefully Jameson and Jessica get through everything so that they can backfill the sergeants.
You said Jameson and Jessica are where?
Well, they're in FTEP right now, so that's the training phase. They're with coaches here in Sherwood. They go through different phases, learning all the different aspects of the job. FTEP, yeah, field training, evaluation process. Is that right? Yeah. Program. Thank you. So they'll be in it until next month. Like I said, go to the academy for 4 months and then come back and pick up where they left off. Thanks.
So when I was at Tigard and asked how many officers they had 100, and I asked if they had reserves, and they haven't had reserve program for years. And their recruitment is all either laterals or totally new hires. That's the way they're doing it right now. And they're advertising everywhere.
Yeah, they're doing videos. Yeah, I mean, they're getting pretty creative. Everybody's being creative now in all facets of law enforcement. Cause it's tricky. But yeah, I just saw a video they had here a couple weeks ago.
What Tigard's population at this point? I am still here.
They're between 50 and 60.
So 2 to 3 times what we are?
Yeah, we're 21-ish. I can't remember exactly what they are. I know they're in the 50s.
And how many officers do we have now?
We have 28.
Ah, this is not a good night not to have a counselor, huh?
They're 56
Yeah,
according.
you were right, you're right in between.
Okay, all right.
But they have Washington Square and I-5, and 217 that changed their policing load quite a bit.
And they also have the transit center there that really drove calls for service up for them just because of, I mean, they're dealing with the homeless population, just a lot of that aspects. And then plus all the programs that they offer, not the PD specifically, but there's always a ripple effect of those things that sometimes the police are needed.
Yeah, well, we still need more officers.
Well, I don't disagree with you.
No. So how many female officers do we have now?
Yeah, that's, we have, so for those that have been here for a while, we had one, Deb, for ever. Yeah, I mean, at least she was probably on her own for 15 of her 25-year career. So yeah, it's pretty cool that we have 4 now.
4, just, oh, I thought there were 5. Okay. Well, go us. Yay.
I don't know how many women, they have quite a few, but yeah.
And typically, if you have 10%, you're starting to meet with the times of more females applying, and we're right in that 10%.
Yeah, we, it kind, you know, interesting enough, it ebbs and flows. I mean, there'll be recruiting processes where we get none, and then, you know, we'll get a handful in the next group. And to your point, obviously, the reserves have worked out really well for us. That was the whole idea of the program. Be able to bring them up, give them some experience, get to know them, because as we know, it's an investment on our end of, you know, nearly $150,000 before they even hit the road. And so, boy, when we can kind of weed out, you know, issues or concerns by having them working with us and learning, our odds on that investment go up exponentially. So, great program to use. Just a couple things coming up. April 21st, Bowling with the Cop. Keep it on your calendar. 4 to 8 we'll be there. We also have Coffee with the Force on the 3rd of May.
Not the 4th of April.
No, I know. I'm sure our PIO will come up with something to tie it all in. And then the day before that, or actually the night before that, we have our annual gala, our Boots and Bling. So that's 5/2. And then we have a shred food drive event. Is that on Saturday? Oh, on 4/26. Here from 10 to 2. So did I read that right?
You did, and this time we're going to try something new. We're going to merge it with the drug take back for the first time. So we'll
Oh,
see
is that
how
what
that
that is?
goes. Yeah, sorry, I know. The drug take back is from 10 to 2, and then the shred event is 9 to noon.
Oh,
Shred and food drive event. So we'll see how it goes. We're gonna give
And
it a,
that's April 26th.
yes.
yeah. So drop your drugs and your shredding stuff off all at once. That's all I have for things on the home front. But like I said, I wanted to show you how things ended up with our presentation, because I know we got, oh geez,
we got short on time last time. Oh, still in here. That's great. Can you see this, Lori? Oh, shoot. Can't see it, can you?
No.
Should be able
I
to share.
think maybe on the
I
present.
can't remember how to do it. How do we do it again?
Share.
It would have to be, go down to we'd have to get back to the Zoom. Yeah, there you go.
You have to click on her picture.
Oh, yeah, click
Yeah, the-
there's. And then right there, where it said the green arrow.
Mhm.
Oh, share. Look at that, learning something
And
new.
then select it, yeah,
All
and
right.
share at the bottom.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. So this is, what I went through with council, 2-3 weeks ago. Just talking about obviously 2024 and some of the things we had done. You saw it in lightning speed last time. None of it, well, I shouldn't say none of it changed. Some of it did change. Lori, something of interest for you, when we're talking about needs and extra officers. So our total calls for service were 19,201. That's 911 and non-emergency. That accounted for about 6,000. It ebbs and flows, and it's been pretty steady like that over the last 4 or 5 years. What's unique to this is our self-initiated activity, which is really our pro activities out there. The officers are out there, you know, engaged with the community, business checks, or arresting people, and traffic enforcement. I think our traffic stops went up by almost 4,000. And we need to keep in mind that we were down about 2.5 officers the entire year. So we ran the entire department for a year on 17.5 people. And so you'll see where you see the 30% growth there. And then this just kind of gives you obviously just the trends over the last 3 years. So 2022, 2023, these are total calls for service. The blue is your calls for service on demand, again, 911s, and then obviously self-initiated. And then you can see the spike here for 2024. So the fact that I think hopefully, as we always knock on wood, that everybody stays healthy and we have a good 2025, we'll probably eclipse these numbers, which is great for us. We're out there getting after it and being proactive and, you know, still working all around community policing, just, you know, and that's from our social media to all our events, which I'll talk about, which are really important for us.
So go back to that. So we saw a slight decline in trending on the actual 911 calls.
Yep.
And self-initiated, can you say that because you're out and about, you're deterring or you're catching, you're engaging before it turns into a 911, or is it just?
I would say all of the above. I mean, it's hard to quantify. That's the tricky part about statistics and law enforcement. Just your presence can deter somebody from going into Walmart or Target or a home or whatever the circumstance may be. And we don't get to capture that data because we'll never know. This is obviously just captured by officers out there self-initiating on their MDTs. Yes, stopping people, making contact with people. So it could deter them from other things that are occurring. But as I alluded to before, just in light of the traffic and all the things that are going on with the construction, I think it's great that we're able to get out there and try and keep those things under control. And there again, knock on wood, we've been pretty fortunate. We haven't had a lot of crashes considering the years. It seems like decades we've been in construction, but TS, Roy Rogers, Sunset, all the things that have been going on. We've had our share, but not like you might expect. So I'm grateful for that. And like I said, hopefully as we move forward, they'll continue to be engaged out there and doing their thing.
So, Chief,
Oh, there you are. Yes.
have you been tracking the number of mental health calls you've been getting?
Yeah, you're way ahead of my next slide, Lori.
Sorry, I'll be quiet now.
I'll get to those in just a second here.
Okay,
So as we talked about, obviously, community engagement is just really kind of one of the cornerstones of who we are and what we do. And I think it's just been so impactful with relationships and just the trust we build with the community. So obviously, just some of the things we've done and some of the things that are coming up. Speaking of which, Coffee with Cop and Bowling with Cop. This has been our values and mission statement, and we've had this for a number of years. There again, just the platform from which we've just built everything off of. One of the things I've added is the innovation and health and wellness, because I think they're incredibly important. I mean, we don't function without our officers being healthy, and that's just taking care of them, because they're an extension of me and this agency. And if they're not healthy, they're just not providing the kind of service that we would expect of them. So really working on those initiatives, and, you know, obviously more importantly, and all of it is, you know, when they leave this career, you want them as healthy as they can be. I mean, we know that it takes its toll, but giving them the opportunity to be as the best they can be when they leave here after 30 years is a big deal to me anyways. And then obviously innovation, just trying to be in the forefront of what we're doing. Drones, this program that we were just talking about with traffic safety and how we police and how we write reports. AI is obviously on the forefront. I shouldn't say on the forefront. It is here, and it's just how are we going to harness it to our benefit and be a little bit more efficient and effective out there. So that is that one there. Where's my little collapser? Our goals, major milestones. I think we've talked about these throughout the year. Probably the bigger ones, obviously, we've got our drones up and going. We've added a couple members to our mobile field force. That's an interagency team that responds to riots, protesters. As of 2020, we needed to build that and expand it. So we have a couple members on that. We have a new member on CART, and that's our crash analysis reconstruction team, again, a county team. So they go out to any major serious crashes or fatalities. There's a lot of math involved in that, so you got to like numbers. But they do a great job there. Talked about the drones. The other thing that I think I want to highlight here is our training for officers. We average about 80 to 100 hours, and that's well above what the metro area is for other agencies. That's from DTs to firearms to mental health training. I mean, across the board. I mean, we're trying to touch all areas, report writing, investigations. I think we do a really good job. We also have a standard that we have to meet just with DPSST. So it's kind of nice that we're eclipsing those hours, which is really important. We talked about this K9. You guys have met Miss B, the drones, CART, MHRT, which I'm going to talk about here in a second. And then we've had 2 years with our SROs, 2 of them now, which they're doing a fantastic job. The feedback I get is usually always positive, and the impact and the influence they have. Although I know there's talk about a third that would probably be down the road a long ways. But we're now, and our partnership with the school district is great. The new superintendent is doing a great job. So we really appreciate that relationship. Lori, here you go. MHRT, as you know, we have the one team, and just to remind you, it's the team that we have is for Tiger Tualatin and us. We have one clinician who rides with each of those officers on a 2-week rotation. However, they respond to all 3 cities as needed. So Amy, our MHRT member, and Crystal
when Amy's up on her 2 weeks, they'll go to Tiger to 12th and or King City as well, because King City's in the mix. They just don't have anybody to participate. So they stay really busy. So for us, Sherwood, we had, that number's not right. It's actually 307. I don't know why. 307 calls that we had that were specific to mental health. So somebody asked for the mental health response team to come down and deal with the situation specifically. Obviously, we deal with it at the times that the MHRT officer is not on. And you can see here, Carlton had 81, Hillsborough had 273, Tigard had 297, Beaverton had 579, and then Washington County, obviously, they had 1,424, but they have several teams. They have greater coverage. They have day shift coverage and night shift coverage throughout the week. So they are getting the bulk of the calls. What I think is really cool, and it just wasn't a thing 15 years ago even. I'll talk about this. So one of the things that people get is services. So 65% of the people receive services when they're contacted. The remaining is, it just depends. I mean, some of them just don't want it, they just refuse it. Or others are going to jail as a result. And then we don't capture anything that's given to them outside of the jail and in custody. Somebody's angry. This is not a whole year's worth. The totals are about 3,000. We got this in early November, so it didn't capture the entire year of 2024, but based off of history, it's about 3,000 or so. This is what this means is 9% of these, it became a police related issue where obviously a crime was committed and we ended up taking them into custody versus a POH or finding them other resources and we not be involved. That's kind of the whole goal of this thing, is that it shouldn't necessarily be a police issue.
Seems like a pretty good percentage.
Yeah.
Record.
What's really cool, and this is probably what I'm most proud of, is our use of force. So 2,800 cases and use of force is like 1%, which is fantastic for all of these people. If you remember, what really drove a lot of this back in the day was police officers, we show up and we have one option: take you to jail, because we don't know what else to do with you if you're in a mental health crisis. And typically they've done something like they're being erratic or they're running around naked or doing crazy things. So we have ended up having to use force to take them into custody. This clearly shows just the success alone in the program of how we are rarely doing that. There's rarely the exception where somebody fights them. Keep in mind, now, this is the entire county-wide. For us, in our statistics of our 300 and some, it's the same percentage. I think it was 2 incidents, maybe it was 1 or 2 incidents that we had to use force. Use of force is be a little broad, because for us in use of force is if anytime I display anything that can be considered a use of force. So I pull out a taser and I point it at you and ask you for compliance, that's a use of force. Whether or not I deployed it or not, it's simply displaying it. So that could factor into some of those things. That doesn't mean that those were necessary hands-on, physical uses of force. So really cool thing. We'll do this real quick. Training and technology, drones. Obviously, we got our taser. This was some taser training, some in-class DT training. We were out at the range when we're not here training. This is the wrap. I don't know if you've ever seen it when we talk about dealing with people and like a mental health crisis. Sometimes it's just, if we can get them into this, they're safe, we're safe. It's easy to move them around. We can get them in and out of cars. They're not asphyxiated because we're not laying on top of them, or they're not laying face down either. So it's a great tool. It can be a little bit of a challenge to get them in there, but they've done a good job in the times they have. This one right
Have a
here.
demonstration here.
Yeah, yeah, anybody want to volunteer? You can't see this one quite, well, I guess I can move Lori. This is out at Washington County in their training facility. This is a mock city, super cool, has buildings. You can create any scenario you want, from a DV to a barricaded subject to just interviewing, knocking on doors, your tactics, all these things can be trained in a controlled environment. So really cool to go out there and be able to participate with them in that. Obviously, you know, Miss B, and then down at the academy, the 4 months that they go to just to kind of kick off their career. And the goals for this year that we're in is obviously mental health initiatives, just what we can do. I would really love to have another team to see if we could augment the other side of the shift, day shift. Because we know that when people get up, they're a lot of times needing to take their medication, they choose not to, and we have episodes that occur during those times as well. Obviously technology and drones and AI, and then just continuing our community policing with all the things we're doing. So that is a snapshot of what I presented to council. And then real quick. Where is it? Sorry, Lori, I'm moving you around. So interesting stats. So 2019 was really probably our last year that we didn't have COVID and we didn't have a lot of traffic disruption. So you can see the numbers here with speeds, and we were 28,627 violations. It severely dropped off in 2022. It spiked here a little in 2023, and a lot of that was because we 99 here, Roy Rogers towards Home Depot in that traffic zone.
The speed trap.
No, we decided to enforce the speed, or the
Construction speed.
Yeah, and you probably heard about some of the issues that arose out of that, but that was kind of the spike out of that. It wasn't that we had an impact or an increase in traffic. It's just with the lowering of the speed, it did spike that. But and then you can see 2024 there again, because Sunset actually Sunset was coming back online, and then obviously TS and Roy Rogers had been down. But I think you asked earlier, everything is up and moving. Yeah, speed. So one of the things you can see, we get about a 96% notice, or I hate to call it success rate, but based on what comes in, we're able to send out.
What's the fall down that the vendor calls out? Because they do a first cut where they send.
Yeah, they do. I'll show you here. Actually, let me get through the red lights and I have that for you. So red lights, actually pretty consistent. Not exactly sure why we had the spike there, because we didn't have anything new. But I did bring in 2019 just to kind of give some historical perspectives. 6,600 red light violations, and that was when we still had all the right turns on red and all things were functioning. And now you're down in here to 800,000 and back to 800. I suspect that that's where we'll stay probably moving forward in that arena with the red light violations. It's not a bad thing. I mean, it's nice to have the yields and the cutouts. These are all intended to obviously change driving habits, and that just gives people the ability to yield.
And the red light is coming from all four directions, but speed is only north to south. Correct. That works.
Yep. And our biggest
camera, or I guess, activity is, northbound. Coming from Newburgh, at Sunset.
Sunset.
Yeah, so it's Sunset camera northbound is the busiest. The second busiest is northbound here at, PS.
What, Chief, what is that little cutout on 99 northbound right before Sunset? Is that, I mean, the only thing I could come up with is that's a place for an officer's car to sit.
Where?
Right,
Just-
northbound on 99, just before Sunset, there's like this little cutout and it doesn't look like it's a right turn lane. It's a little cutout in the side of the road on the right-hand side.
It does actually look almost kind of like a bus stop.
Oh.
It's where you would turn right eventually. It just starts really early.
I don't know, you know why? I don't know, because it's not in the city. So I don't know. We wouldn't sit there because I mean, I guess we can enforce traffic there, but we'd have to ride everything into Washington County. And plus it's outside the city technically.
Okay.
So, talking about, issues with cameras, camera malfunctions, missing data, obviously flash issues, and then video sync. We just, Redflex was acquired by, a new company,
Zero mobility.
Vera Mobility, thank you. And so they upgraded everything, but there was some syncing issues and I think we've got it all worked out. But on the back end, yeah, so the first review is with the camera company. They go through and make sure that plates are good and match the vehicle. They'll look and see if, the driver can be identifiable. Sometimes they're just really bad. We've asked, because we can set the parameters of what to send and what not to, and so we've left it kind of wide open, kind of send us everything, we'll sift through it. And so we have a dedicated person that does that, but I'll give some data here, 164 missing.
It's not that many though.
No, I mean, they've gotten better, they do a pretty good job, so like I said, well, that's why we have a high rate, 96% typically, right around in there. And then it's just the things that we're working on. This continues, registration always continues to be a challenge, just who's the car registered to. People have caught on to different ways. And then I think we've gotten through most of this on the camera malfunctions, just as with the changeover. So as of today, I know things are moving along pretty well, so. That's it there again in a quick nutshell for you. Like I said, I wanted to make sure that I was able to at least give you more than 2.5 minutes than last week or last month.
I'm trying to unshare.
Okay.
Not because it's gonna stop.
Oh, there it is.
Do you compare that data with crash data to see if the cameras are improving behavior? So like the crash data from before the cameras went in compared to how many crashes occur now?
We haven't looked at that in a while. We'll probably do. With that, just because a lot of the cameras are driven by crash data. Ironically enough, we capture all those on camera. So probably should go back and look, I guess, to answer your question. I haven't seen anything probably in the last 4 or 5 years. Our biggest crashes are still Sunset. They always seem to be, I mean, we have a lot of pretty dynamic crashes there just because of the speeds.
That's why I was wondering, because
Yeah.
it seems like there's a crash there constantly. And that's an intersection with cameras, so.
Yeah. You give me some homework, thanks. I'll go back and look. It's relevant and it's good to check. Because we've been in business with the camera since 2010, right?
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean, so they've been around a while.
Speaking of cameras, are there other cameras in town, either city run or private, that
the PD can use for investigation, besides all of us that have rings or whatever? I mean, in shopping centers, are there video taken and at other intersections? Is that because I think we're seeing more of that. Clearly in Europe, they have them everywhere.
Yeah.
And more of the East Coast, big cities have that ability, but I was just wondering where we were at.
No, we don't. We have talked about it. So they have cameras that we've looked at some mobile cameras that you can put up on posts. Like, not a secret. Obviously, we deal with a lot of retail theft. You know, TS and Langer, where you can capture all vehicles coming in and out of basically those two malls, Walmart, Target, all that. And they can read plates. It's an LPR, basically, license plate reader. And so it's just running plates constantly so that we can identify, especially if a theft's occurring or crimes have been committed. We can capture real-time data, potentially where they're going, what's going on. It also gives us stolen vehicles, suspended drivers, warrants, all those kinds of things. It could be a little bit overwhelming and daunting depending on how you set up the parameters. It's of interest to us. It's just, and it's technology and it's a great tool. My only reservation to it is I know that it will bring a lot of data to us and, you know, being able to manage that with people on the road. You know, if there's just one or two of us and nothing's going off like crazy.
So do your police cars have the ability to read license plates and that kind of stuff?
Not yet. It's another conversation I just had this week with the city manager. We're considering, you know, what that can look like in the cost. If you're not familiar with how they operate, you can stick them right on top of a patrol car. It's going 360. You just go up and down parking lots. It's reading plates and you're just getting read back instantaneously. So we can find stolen vehicles. We can find wanted people, missing people. I mean, it's a great tool. And it just, if you've ever seen our officers or ridden with our officers, you know, they sit like this half the night, and, you know, just running plates and typing things, you know, I don't know how their spines hold up, but, whether you can put them on every car, I don't know. I haven't been able to see the cost yet. I know they've come down a lot because I think Tiger used to have them, or he does have them, a couple.
Yeah.
It was at Washington Square Mall, just.
So this is something I learned with this work I'm doing with their retail theft division, if they call it division. They have 4 or so officers, is all paid by business tax. Doesn't come out of the general fund, but to deal with Washington Square and the retail theft, that's all paid by business taxes.
Yeah, they have a commercial crimes unit that is, specifically funded by all the businesses, which is not a bad idea when you're heavily. They probably got 50% of their bucket or their geographic areas, commercial and retail. Yeah.
So one of the things that they've plotted out that they've shared is calls in their jurisdiction, and they're Washington Square, 217 and 99 and I-5. It's just loaded. That's where all the calls are.
And they have part of Bridgeport. Bridgeport is split between 12th and Tiger, kind of weird, but that's just the way it was. Their city limits, yeah. Any other questions on that? I know I flew through it again.
Yes.
Oh, yes, Lori.
I want to go back to the MHRT.
Oh,
So you said you were hoping to expand on that. Can you mentioned something about when Amy goes off the 2 weeks. So how does that work? If we're sharing the MHRT with different jurisdictions, how we get her for 2 weeks and then we're off, we don't get her for another 4 weeks? How does this work?
yeah, so the clinician is always in South City. So the clinician will always be in Tiger 12th and or Sherwood.
Now, for 2 weeks, she rides with a Sherwood officer, 2 weeks she rides with a Tigard officer, and 2 weeks she rides with a Tualatin officer. Any MHRT related call within those 3 cities, that team will go regardless of who the officer is. So regardless of whether it's a Tigard, Tualatin, or a Sherwood officer, they will go with the clinician and take care of that call. So if Amy's here and the call's in Tigard, they go, or it's in Tualatin, they go. They also will go, obviously, countywide if asked. They'll go to Beaverton or Hillsborough if they're the only ones on and available, but so somebody will always be available. It just may not be our officer responding to a call here if she's not on with the clinician.
So what are the hours that the clinician usually works?
1 to 11.
1 to 11. Okay. So what's it going to take to get a clinician to be available for the morning hours?
It takes a second clinician,
Right.
and that is out of LifeWorks. And then it would take another dedicated officer to work that. So we've had talks with Tualatin and Tigard to see, maybe replicating this model. It's been very successful for us. Especially for the financial component of it, we're all splitting the costs. So, to split another clinician, we could probably manage. The hurdle for us, and I speak for Sherwood, is the officer. So that would be what we would have to probably try and figure out.
And you said that the figures in that diagram were incorrect for Sherwood. We actually, it's about 3 times as much?
We had 307.
Not 97.
And then I said 72. I'm not quite sure why it said that. We had 300.
300, us and Tigard and Tualatin all combined?
No, 300.
Just Sherwood.
So here and I need to clarify that, and this is one of the things I don't know definitively is, so the way the calls for service work is it's where that call originated from. So what I mean by that is Amy may not have taken all the calls that were generated in Sherwood. It could have been the Tigard MHRT person and Crystal that came here to resolve it. Yeah. And so some of the data can be a little skewed in that, but totality of numbers is correct. It's just, I don't know if specifically, is it the Sherwood officer there or was it the Tigard officer that came to Sherwood to resolve that?
And the numbers, if I remember right, the Tualatin and Sherwood numbers were pretty close. The Tigard was like 3 times.
Yes.
Much more.
Yeah, and there again, because they have Just Compassion there, which is an outreach program. They have the transit center, which a lot of people utilize, for transportation, and it just lends itself to people that sometimes have either drug or behavioral health issues or the combo of.
Do we all put in the same percentage?
No.
Okay, good.
So Tigard takes 50%. Tualatin is 30 and we're 20.
On the clinician.
Yes. Yeah, thank you for that. Does that help, Lori?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So during that, because I've heard, and Lori would know more, there's a lot of morning time mental health challenges besides the evening. So when we have those, and Washington County has 2 shifts running, do they respond or?
They will if we request them. A lot of times patrol will just handle it unless it just elevates to a level where we really need the assistance.
The officer working with the clinician, is that someone that we had on patrol already, or is that someone that is separate? So we still have our 2 or 1.5 or whatever. And then there's the officer with the clinician. You see what I'm saying? When they go to field that call in Tigard or Tualatin.
Yeah, we'll still have, we'll typically have 2 here still. Yeah. Yeah. So when she's not with the clinician, she just rolls back into her patrol function.
the other 4 weeks. Look at that, we're gonna be about an hour earlier this time.
See if I got a question.
Oh, no?
So, I happen to be watching the news. Multnomah County has an issue with, when they write a citation to somebody, whether it's retail theft or red light or whatever, they give you a citation and a notice to appear in court. So obviously, people in Multnomah County, depending on this, according to this news story, do not ever show up at court. So the question I have for you is when Sherwood police officers write any sort of site, whether it's, we'll concentrate on shoplifting, retail theft, when they have a notice to appear in court and they get a notice and a citation, or they go to jail and get arrested, depending on the circumstances, right? Do you get notified when they don't appear in court? Does that, like, I know Washington County is a much stronger arrest record.
I don't think they send out FTA notices, specifically. You don't see.
I don't.
I know they used to back in the day. I will tell you, and I know Kevin Barton, our Washington County DA, we'll talk about this. The FTAs in the county are like through the roof.
Yeah.
Because of that very reason, just, people don't care. I mean, they're getting arrested for a shoplift too. I write you a citation, they're never gonna show up, because they know that they have to be caught again before they're even gonna have to deal with, and they know they're just gonna get cycled through and out the door.
So it's kind of blanket problem throughout.
It is,
Law
yeah. And I think I talked about this maybe last time, I can't remember, but it has a ripple effect because these people, if they end up showing up at court or, they go through arraignment and plead not guilty and they set a court date, knowing full well they're not gonna show up, well, the officer has to show up. And then we show up and now it's costing us for these FTAs. And then we kind of just, it's a leap, we just keep chasing them down the road and the officer keeps having to show up. And it's really hard to show the impact it has on an agency financially. I mean, because it's one of those little hidden costs that nobody thinks about. But yeah, I mean, so you finally catch up to them. Oh, sorry, they give them another court date because they can't hold them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're supposed to show up, so the officer shows up and it also, it backlogs the DA's office, their caseloads and trying to manage these things.
What do you think the fix for this is?
I don't know. It's there's just no space. I mean, there's no space on the back end. The jail, obviously, you've heard about Washington County and just getting jail support in there. I can't remember how many pods have closed at the moment. But it's a staffing thing. It's a cost thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to run a system like that, man, I can speak to this. It's costly to keep these people and then, and running them through there. I don't know what the answer is.
I'm sure we're not in the same area of no-shows that Multnomah County's in.
Probably not.
Because Washington County tends to prosecute a lot more, strictly speaking, retail theft.
Yeah, but they're not gonna, well, here, I could be wrong, but I think they were pushing 10,000 FTAs. The DA's office, Washington County DA's office will absolutely prosecute retail theft, but you gotta have a body there.
Well,
And they're not gonna take a bed up for a misdemeanor theft to hold them.
right.
I get it. It's, you've got to prioritize who you need to keep in custody, so. I don't know the answer.
And you're picking up, reading your social media, you're picking up people that have warrants from Multnomah County all the time and Clackamas and everywhere. So these people are just traveling around looking at the next sweet spot to do something.
Yeah, and now it is a great example. We get a Multnomah County warrant, we call Multnomah County, we got Jim and Bob here.
they'll say, site release them. Here's a new court date.
Yeah, somebody.
I mean, yeah, they won't take them, you give them a new court date, and they know the game. They absolutely know that there's gonna be no ramification. Now, we do shock people when they hear that we're actually taking them to jail out here. You're like, what? You're not gonna give me a citation? So, now, what happens at the jail is a different story, but we've utterly inconvenienced them and we've taken them to jail. And
Don't get to
the
go.
jail can't keep them while, now they're, now they know we're serious at least.
There's that.
And they can't get back to their car that's in Walmart and, drive across to Target and do the exact same thing that we just cited them for. That was the other thing that was going on. It was bad. You'd arrest a guy walking out of Walmart with a TV, cite and release him. He's suspended. His car's in the parking lot. We can't tow the car. Can't do anything about that. They wait till we leave. They drive up into the Target parking lot. They're safe again. They go in and do their next crime. And if they're not caught, they're out they're on their way. Yeah.
So are you still stuck hauling people to jail, or is the county running any kind of ban or something?
Yeah, not like they had. Pre-COVID, we had like the transport vans on a regular basis. Just because of staffing, they just have not been able to do what they needed to. I think there is a van on occasion. I don't know if it's on a regular basis. But I do know that the transport van is back in play, just not at the level it had been. Yeah, because you're right. And I know I've talked about this, 2 of us on, somebody gets custody. They're gone for hours because they drive out to, that's right, Washington County and they have to lodge them and then they got to get back here and it can take a while.
So that reminds me, staffing level during the day, 3, swing 2 or 3.
Every shift starts with 3.
Okay.
But we usually run 2 because there's always somebody's either sick, PTO, training. The last stats I did, we operated about 74% per officer in their availability because of all the things. So, if you want them full-time, you need, 1.5 people to cover kind of, that's where I'm getting some of my numbers like, well, wait a minute, if I hire you, but you're only available 74% of the time, like 26% of the time, times 20, that's a lot of time that we're missing. So it's always a challenge with.
The Tigers running only 4. That blew me away when I heard that on Saturday. For as big as they are, they're only running 4 per shift.
What do they do when they have to run somebody to jail?
Same thing. They're down.
Yeah, and I'm guessing their minimum is probably 3, so they'll let one person off, so. Yeah, and we rarely run at capacity. Or which I should say, fully staffed on a shift.
And sure it's little. And when I think about Tigard in the area to cover, it just,
You said Tiger, I was thinking North Sherwood.
I will say it's been the best partnerships that we've been able to develop. I mean, we're all on the same channel, so we all hear what's going on with each other. So there's always responses to each other's cities for calls. When you hear something's going sideways or it could go, people will go to help. So that it's certainly nice. Although we may have 1 or 2 on. If something breaks out here, you're going to see 6, 7, 8 cops. And I hear it all the time, and I see it on social media. Oh, I saw a Tiger Girl rolling ball her car, So it's very much appreciated that we work so well together.
So, Chief, I just want to say you guys do a great job for all the challenges that you have to deal with.
Thanks, Lori.
Any more, Larry?
I know that was a difficult. Not the first time.
Hey, so next month, I'm gonna probably bring, our fun, policy updates. Hey, but I'm gonna try a new way this next time too.
Oh,
Yeah,
looking forward to it.
yeah, well, so this, this new little app I've stumbled across, I'm like, so, let's see,
We'll see what the update time was.
yeah, he's active right now.
All right.
I move, we adjourn.
All right, motion has been second. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you all again for your time, including your civic duty and your support of this phenomenal police department. Thank you, Angie, as well.
Good night, Lori.
Night, thank you.